So yours truly is back in South Florida getting his 4-year-old daughter ready for pre-K. But babysitting your Miami Dolphins is Isaiah Smalls, who today sent out some very cryptic tweets about the Miami Dolphins seemingly getting manhandled by the Detroit Lions. I was not there, Isaiah. So I'm relying on your eyes, your observations. Please paint me the picture that I need to know about the 2025 Miami Dolphins.
I will sum it up with the very first play I remember. It's something that I'm probably going to remember for a very long time, just because of how, I don't want to say illustrative it was, but just of how powerful it was. So the one play was one-on-ones. I didn't see how I don't know. Look. I didn't see how the reps started. I saw how it finished. How it finished was Amon-Ra St. Brown running down the sideline and catching a touchdown pass, and Jack Jones some 5 to 10 yards behind him trying to catch up. And that essentially kind of is a little bit of a metaphor for the day today. The Detroit Lions just looked head and shoulders better above the Miami Dolphins, and it really wasn't even close. I primarily watched the defense. I, collaborated with David Furones over there at South Florida Sunset. He watched the offense, and look, man, and I wanted to see the defense specifically because I wanted to see how the corners fared, and I wanted to see how just the defensive front has been pretty solid, right? It's been solid against the Dolphins themselves, but then also in Chicago, they performed well. They really weren't really getting after it today. I can count maybe on one hand. I saw maybe 2 sacks. Jared Goff, for the most part, had all day. And that's when I really started to see how solid of a quarterback Jared Goff is. I honestly had probably underrated him a little bit because some of these passes he was throwing, I mean, right in the breadbasket. I'll say one more, but it was on the goal line. It was a goal line play. It was a pass from Goff to Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Amon-Ra just kind of ran a little bit of a wheel route. And hey, Jason Marshall Jr., I'll give him credit. He was there with him all day. Only issue is good offense.
Hold up. Why is Jason Marshall Jr. defending Amon-Ra?
You haven't been paying attention really on the goal line packages because usually Jason Marshall Jr. is in there. Yes. Next time you look at goal line package, look who the corners are. It's usually Jason Marshall Jr. Because I wasn't surprised.
Okay.
And like I said, the coverage was tight. He was on him like white on rice. Only issue was the pass was a little bit better. So when I tell you Amon-Ra stretched out that hand, the ball literally fell right there. I mean, like you got to give it up for the young rook for great coverage. Hey, it's better offense, man. Bet good. Hey, elite offense beats elite defense any day of the week, unfortunately.
Jared Goff has a little to him in terms of the completion percentage, the accuracy. Yeah. I believe he completed like nearly 70% of his passes last year, throwing for 37 touchdowns. So the secondary got shredded, no pass rushing pressure.
Not much of pass rushing pressure, and that kind of allowed Jared Goff to carve up the secondary. I mean, don't get me wrong. Minkah made a play or two, like force it incompletion, but most of it was the Lions dropping a ball, and there weren't a lot of drops. Like Sam Laporta might have had one drop. Amon-Ra, they called it a drop on the sideline for like it was like deep. It was like he dove for the ball. It was a sideline catch. The ref said it hit the ball. I thought it was good. Granted, the ref was right there. It was the opposite sideline for me, but it wasn't good. Like I said, Zach Sealer got in the backfield a few times. Derek McClendon, who replaced Chop Robinson, he got in the backfield as well a few times. But there wasn't. Zach got a sack. McClendon he wasn't able to get home because by the time he'd get there, it'd just be balls out.
Now, let me ask you this. Was this because a lot of times when you do joint practice, that's when you get the first team 70% of reps, second team 30% of reps. What was the split like in your opinion?
I think it was about that. It was about maybe 70% first team, 20% second team, and not
10.
about 10% of final team.
Okay.
60. I'm gonna go actually 60, 30, 10.
What about special teams?
You want me to give you a detailed?
You watch special teams. How did they do?
I'm gonna be honest with you. The special teams was when I walked over to check with Rose to get to swap.
Okay. So y'all were up. So there was no place that you could just watch both fields.
No.
Okay.
And Fronis kind of found a place to do that, but I didn't like where he was sitting because I couldn't see the games. Like I like to be able to say, like,
yes. I couldn't see the game yesterday as well. Last week as well. Could not see the yardage. Let me ask you this question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, offensively, what was the report that you got? Because I'm reading tweets, and all I'm hearing is Detroit Lions people like, oh, this Lions team is either a juggernaut or this Dolphins team is really bad.
Yeah.
What did you see offensively?
So from what I heard offensively, the Dolphins couldn't get anything going offensively, and Tua kind of spoke to that. Unfortunately, like he said today was a very frustrating day for him because it just didn't seem like they were able to connect really. And Tyreek was back, but Tyreek didn't do anything competitive. Jalen Waddle was back, but he was on a limited snap count, right? He wasn't fully participating in all of the.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think I've ever in my entire career covering the Dolphins, I think I've seen Tyreek maybe participate in one joint practice, and that was the one that he hurt his wrist.
Yeah.
Like when I say we going back to 2022, like Tyreek just doesn't really do joint practices, not because he doesn't want to. There's always just something flaring up. But Jalen Waddle was out there.
There again, not much. So there is a debate within the media room because there's a apparent touchdown that he scored on a screen, right? I believe it was during. I don't want to speak on what period it was, but it was a touchdown he scored on a screen. I know it was team period because they mentioned Brewer kind of being out there to lead the pack. However, it's heavily disputed because the ref said like that one of the Lions defenders would have got him for maybe a short gain, right? All the Dolphins media people, though, they said they were watching it. They said it was a touchdown, considering obviously Waddle's speed and with the ball in his hands and
he's a little bit elusive, yeah.
Exactly, and apparently the Lions defender just had reached out his arm to like tap him, right? Okay. So it was a little bit debatable, but like I said, other than that, like the only favorable things I heard from that offense was Devon Achane, who got one of the top performers in my. I was struggling for top performers in the stock report.
Okay, hold on. So against Chicago, they had effectiveness running the ball to the left side. Did you get a report on what the run was?
Yes. Yeah, so I believe the misdirection that I wrote about, I believe it was to the left. There was a misdirection play to the left that got a big gain. And then in terms of running, that's the only big thing that I heard from him. I also heard that he had a nice catch during 7-on-7s. And against running backs, on one-on-ones, apparently he was dominating, which I'm sorry, against linebackers. Achane was dominating, but I mean that's not.
I don't pay attention to one-on-ones unless it's a defense win. Like I can't even validate anything that happened except for trench play one-on-ones. That's a whole different ball game.
Of course.
But one-on-ones, if a defensive player wins, that's when I pay attention. Offensive player is supposed to win because he knows what's coming. The defender does not. So overall, would this change your tune? I know it's just a joint practice. I know they'll get to respond tomorrow. I know they've got a Saturday exhibition game. But does this change your tune in terms of what you can expect from this team?
I think so. That's the thing about joint practices, right? Everyone wants to overreact. And don't get me wrong. I think you have to use your eyes, right? And trust your eyes, right? And so for me, like I said, like the secondary's inability to kind of cover the Lions and them not getting pressure. Again, like there's no Jaelan Phillips there. Chop was hurt. I mean, I don't think it overall changes my view of the Dolphins, but I will say they have a lot further to go than I originally thought, right?
You bring up a good question that I have for you, because if Jaelan Phillips isn't working, we don't know exactly what the nature of the issue is. We assume it's not the bruise. But if Jaelan Phillips is not working, and I'm fine, for the record, I'm fine with Jaelan Phillips not working, because I just need him for game day. And I know how Jaelan Phillips is, and he's going to work himself when he's got something wrong, and then something else is going to go wrong. So I'm good.
Yeah.
Chop got hurt today. Mm-hmm. We don't know the nature of the injury. You are reporting, a source says that it is not a head injury. It wasn't a knee injury. Correct?
I don't know. I don't want to speculate again. I didn't necessarily see a limp or anything. So I don't want to speculate there. I believe a Lions media member who I don't want to misquote a name, but they said it looked to be shoulder. So I don't know.
He had a shoulder injury coming into the draft process, and which prevented him from doing a bench press. Shoulder is definitely a problem area. Hopefully that's not going to be too much of a concern. It was one of the reasons where I never got a bench press on Chop Robinson, which never gives you a baseline of how strong a player is. And as you know, and Chop knows, and the whole team knows, I say that Chop is not the greatest when it comes to edge setting. Hopefully he will get an opportunity to prove me wrong. Chop said on his social media account that he was fine, no big deal.
That's exactly what he said. Now I'll be interested to see, we'll talk to McDaniel tomorrow, what the actual injury is, how much we can get from him, but then also, whether or not he even practices tomorrow. But I doubt it, depending on.
So getting back to my initial question, no Jaelan. Mm-hmm. No Chop. Chubb might be limited. Who was your edges?
I saw Quentin Bell. I saw McClendon.
McClendon.
Yeah, for like first team reps. Yeah, that was primarily it.
Quentin Bell and McClendon, and no Cameron Good. No.
I saw them with second and third team reps, but I didn't see them taking.
So hold on, are you saying that McClendon jumped to the first team?
Whoa.
I'm just asking you a question. Who is blocking McClendon?
I'm just saying that I saw, because again, let me just put this caveat out there. We're, as much as that roster depth chart, has these people slotted in certain areas, that's not necessarily the case, right? I think it's a very much so a case by case basis. And I'm going to give you this, because on that case by case basis, you know who the first two corners were out there today?
Ethan Bonner and Jack Jones. Yeah. That was straight guess.
Yeah, I know. That was a good guess. So I say all that to say that I think the team, when they are impressed with you, they are going to give you a shot. And we're running with a elevated.
Since when?
I'm just saying that's what I've seen. That's what I've seen. Because again.
Since when?
Again, since today.
Okay, yeah, say since today. Since today. Because we talking 4 years of people never moving on the depth chart.
Look, I was surprised too, because I looked up, I was like, oh, is that oh, okay, for sure. Like, yeah, let's see how he looks, right? So between that and then, like I said, Jack Jones and Bonner getting like the first shot.
Storm still worked, and Kendall Sheffield.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not. Yeah, they definitely still work. But those were the guys that got the first look initially, and I was surprised considering what Storm has done and all this. But I guess they were they wanted to challenge these guys. So I will say this about the defense: Jordan Brooks, regardless of what's happening on, at the edges or at corner. Jordan Brooks is one of one. He seems that similar to Willie Gay, just has a nose for the ball. Like he had a tackle for loss, that he even forced a fumble on. He had some pretty good coverage.
Impactful player.
Yeah, Sam Laporta had made probably one of the only plays on him. It was like a real outstretched 20-yard gain, but it was like, again, he was right there in coverage, and he would have. There's a few. It's always difficult to judge this during joint practices, but like when a quarterback throws a hospital ball, right? Like a very obvious play that's like, okay, that guy's gonna like get blown up, right? Mm-hmm. But then you got to figure out like, okay, is he? Because obviously the defensive player is gonna pull up, right? And I saw
didn't pull up, not one.
Miami was pulling up. Miami was pulling up. Only one instance did I see Dante Trader Jr. not pull up. And they threw the flag for, and I say roughness. I didn't think it was that, to be honest.
I'm so glad that they threw flags, because Chicago, man, they just like, people were getting smacked, body slammed, and they didn't throw any flags. They didn't kick any players out. I'm not gonna cry about it no more. How did the Dolphins do with the physicality, since Mr. Grant Stewart basically said there was a wussy team?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. Like, and Fronis and I were talking about it just now over lunch. I wouldn't really say that the physicality was the issue. I think more so the execution, as Waddle pointed out, was the issue. I know offensively, it just seemed like it. From what I've heard from the guys, it just seemed like it was either a sack, or he, in the sack, or it was a throwaway, or like a, it just. And even in the brief period of like situational at the end of practice, where it was like, okay, offense, you're gonna get a chance, so you go. Offense, and
the red zone. What did they do it in red zone, or did they start?
They started on the opposite red zone, so they started like 20-yard line.
And I love that one, 20-yard line. So what did Miami do in their 3 situation periods?
4 and out.
Hold on, four reps.
First down, second down, third down, fourth down, turnover on downs.
Okay, what about the second team?
They didn't get a chance.
Oh, so they only went starters versus starters? Okay, and what did Detroit do?
Drove the ball down the field. And they ended practice on, I think it was a third down, like a 3rd and goal. Or if it wasn't
they got it down to the goal?
Oh yeah, they got it definitely in the red zone. It might not have been 3rd and goal, or it might have been like a 3rd and short, like on the 10-yard line, right? Okay. And so they called a defensive holding on Jordan Brooks to that. I thought it was on Storm, but they corrected me. They said it was on Jordan Brooks, and that's how they ended practice. But it was third and like short,
that they would have technically punched it in, but Dan Campbell basically called off the dogs. Didn't want to embarrass you a little bit too much. Okay,
that's what it looked like. Unfortunately,
I know. Yes, I know the ebbs and flows of practice and fights.
Oh man, Jack Jones. First of all, this is what I respect Jack Jones, because he was chirping from the very beginning, and I didn't know this until afterwards, but him and Amon-Ra used to compete against each other in high school. So I think he was seeking that matchup. The only difference was when Amon-Ra saw him, he saw barbecue chicken, and it was just
okay.
And so there was a few, I don't want to call them fights, a little skirmishes between Jack Jones and a few of the offensive linemen. And then the one at the end, though, that like when the teams, practice over teams are coming together, apparently was Iffy and Jameson Williams, obviously former teammates.
What?
Yeah, I don't know what that was, but that was apparent. That's what people saw. Like I said, I couldn't. The fight kind of happened right in the middle of the two fields, right, and I was on the furthest field, kind of walking.
Now was it like a melee, like in Chicago, or just a couple of?
I had no clue. All I saw was just like. You can see when like someone's fighting, because the entire crowd kind of goes like, "Oh," like So
okay. You don't get to see it.
Okay. I didn't get to see anything, but I will say that Jack Jones was chirping from day one, from the very minute. I hope that I need him to respond tomorrow, because you can't talk like that get torched like that and not have
your get back.
And not have your get back. Like, you need to get that lick back tomorrow. And look, I have faith in him. I just don't know how much, because Amon-Ra I know Amon-Ra is one of the better receivers in the league, top 5. Regardless, I don't know how you're going to rank them, but he looked. It might not be Jay Jettas or Jamar Chase, but he looked right there. Like, that number 3 spot is him. And it was because to me, what really impressed me, he was just in a bunch of ways. He would go deep, he would intermediate, short. Like, he just was routing people up. And even the 5-yard out that he caught on Jack Jones on the goal line, I'd have to see the film to see how he could defend that better. Maybe it is jamming him. Maybe it is a strength issue. Maybe you need to reroute him. But
they need to be less predictable in terms of how they play defense, because that's a lot of zone, and I'll just take what you give me underneath anyway. But that's hey. Anthony Weaver produced the top 10 defense last year.
Top 5,
sure. I'll let him.
I know you hate that. I know you hate it, but it's just the numbers. It's 4th ranked defense.
All right, I'll let it slide. How did the Dolphins do against the run?
I think they were okay, right? I don't think the pass is really what killed them, right? But in the run, they were serviceable, right? It was okay. Like, definitely, Montgomery and Gibbs, which is one of the best running back duos in the league. They made their plays for sure. Definitely made their plays, but they also were stopped a few times. Jordan Brooks specifically stopped. Met a few guys in the hole. They were okay. They were much better against the run than they were against the pass.
So to sum this up, what do you hope is being said in the team meetings tonight, leading up to tomorrow morning's second joint practice?
One, if there were any energy issues like, Tua illustrated, y'all need to fix that. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's y'all got to get to bed at 8:00. I don't know if it's a 7 p.m. curfew. I don't know what it is, but they need to find a way to come with more energy, right? 2, as much as McDaniel stresses this not being about individual matchups, I think there has to be some pride, right? And I'm not saying that they don't have pride. I'm just saying, like, you can't let somebody continuously punch you in the mouth and you not do anything, right? Like, there has to be some personal pride. Like, me versus you, you're not going to beat me. And if I just beat my man 9 times out of 10, we'll be okay.
I might just be better than you. Like, what you gonna do? And sometimes Amon-Ra might be a receiver you have to double cover.
And then but then, like, look, like, we're facing those caliber of receivers this season. So how you can't double Jamar Chase because T. Higgins is gonna go off.
You can. Right? You just pay the consequences. You can. So it's and you don't have to do it on every down. They're probably not game planning. They're not strategizing. This is just mano a mano. What do you do? Okay. It'll be interesting to see how they respond tomorrow. Isaiah will be there. You gonna watch defense or you gonna watch offense today?
I'm switching. We're switching.
Okay. So, all right. See, good call. See if the offense gets a little bit more efficient. Definitely pay attention to the running game and make sure you come back with a report on these new backs, because I don't know nothing about them.
I will say I do remember seeing that. I think Mike Boone fumbled into the end zone or fumbled around the red zone. Something about him fumbling. That's the only thing I do remember.
Fumbles.
That's right.
All right. Well, that is the Dolphins In Depth podcast covering you for these joint practices in Detroit. We will be back tomorrow to give you a recap to see if the Dolphins responded favorably. All right. On that note, we are out.